You get spoiled. You know, the treatment here in Saudi Arabia and the promotion with Salah and everyone involved, it's first class treatment, limousines everywhere, and you come to these media days, you have your schedule, and they put on a great show. The fights are phenomenal. This is a phenomenal card, probably the best card in the history of boxing, I would say.
Exactly the same kind of treatment as when you were fighting, right?
I don't know about that. When I was fighting in the New Daisy Theatre in Memphis on Beale Street, I was a little bit not as good.
Well, I think
slightly less.
Right, respect to your generations and then the generations that brought your generations forward, because everybody's had to grind in a different era, right? And coming into this kind of environment, knowing what boxing was like and having to fight the way that you did, does it bring something to the table? Do you? I mean, I know Joseph's no, rookie. He's also been fighting a long time, but it's got to be a little bit different what the expectations of the fighters are. Like you talk about the treatment limos everywhere. Marvin Hagler famously said it's hard to get out of silk sheets and go running. Is any of that creeping in when you start to prepare for these kind of events over and over again?
I think there are certain fighters it might affect. Yeah, and then it goes to the head. They think they've made it, and they take their eye off the ball. But when you see guys who consistently perform, Joe's been accustomed to this type of thing for a long time. He's been a world champion. He's financially secure. He's well off. He doesn't have to worry about money from boxing, but he still pushes himself hard every day. So that shows me his desire, and he's
Where do you think that desire comes from? What keeps it burning so bright, especially for him to be on a run like this late in his career, if you will?
I think he realizes the privilege it is to be in the position he is, and it's a privilege to work hard, and it's a privilege. Joseph loves this life. He loves the training camps. He loves the diet. He loves the hard sessions, and he loves the fights, and he loves all the benefits of that. First of all, the money. Second of all, the fame, the admiration from around the world. He's got fans from all around the world, and he doesn't take it for granted. He doesn't. He's still the same guy. I've seen guys with a lot less success and change overnight, but this is a guy who's still the exact same guy. He's more humble than ever, more giving and more generous than ever with his time and with people. And he's a good person.
He's taken. In practice of being kind of a boogeyman slayer. He's decided to take on the big punchers, obviously Wilder, Zhang. In both cases, that was the talk of the fight, how big the punches that were going to be coming at him would be. Obviously, he was able to be successful in both of those. Maybe it's one time lucky, two times skill, but third time, well, that's a charm. Like this would be the one where he really proves that this isn't some kind of fluke. What is it that he's doing countering these big punchers to get his hand raised on the night?
It's a mix of experience and craft, cleverness, and also strategy, tactics. And we train diligently. We work on all our opponents' strengths. We try to make them their weakness. So with Wilder, he was a big right-hand puncher. We know that. And so for Joe, to nullify that, we trained for whenever Wilder looked to be going to launch that right hand, Joe would feint and almost show his right hand, and that made Wilder hesitant. Whereas Zhang is a vicious counterpuncher. He likes to close up, let you punch, and then punch with you at the same time. So with that, you have to be sporadic with your punches, unpredictable with your punches, and not trade too often with him. Just pick your moments. And with Dubois is a massive puncher too, but he sets everything up off the jab. He has to double jab before he attacks. Even if it's not landing, he'll throw the double jab just to get himself into the range. And we're planning to use that jab against him, to counter it, to step outside of it, to step inside of it, to jab with him, and also take the distance. So you have to improve your strengths with every training camp and improve your weaknesses. But you have to also look at your opponent's strengths and make them their weaknesses.
Much was made of Parker putting on weight very early in camp, thinking he was bulking up for Dubois. However, I've seen him today. I don't know that there is a significant weight differential.
No, he was He was big earlier on in the middle of the year, but he's probably about, well, I don't know, show what that is in pounds. He's probably about 260 pounds. It's not a huge much more, but to be honest with you, it hasn't affected his movement or his hand speed. That was the main concern. But it has. I can feel an increase in power on the pads. He's punching them harder, a bit harder. So that's only a benefit to him.
It would be an obvious analysis to say that Parker's advantage would be movement, potentially trying to outbox Dubois until Dubois shows that he can box at the level that Parker is movement-wise. But in an exchange that Parker could be drawn into, it seems like Dubois has been successful in drawing his opponents into these firefights. Is that something that you think Parker has the ability to stand up to if it's an exchange, or does he have to be moving?
No, it's a delicate balance of picking your moments when to trade. You can't allow Daniel Dubois to gain too much momentum because he's a momentum fighter. If he starts coming forward and feels like there's nothing there, there's no threat there, then he'll just walk through you. So you have to hit him hard early with something to let him know that he just can't come forward with that. But also you got to be careful not to trade too much with him. So it's a fine balance. But we've worked on it every single day with and at every single session. So Joe's well drilled. He has to stand there with Dubois at times, and he has to move it. He'll have to move at times. Let him fall short. Let him doubt himself. When that jab is not landing the way he thinks it, way he's hoping it for to land, he'll start to question himself. So we'll see. He tends to overcompensate when he used the jab, and his balance he'll go over his front foot, lose balance, and we got it down. Just waiting to see. I'm just figuring it out in my head. Yeah.
I know as a fighter, you got to stay focused on the meal that's on the table in front of you. Joseph has got to be 100% focused on Dubois, but as a trader, you might be looking at the more broad landscape. You know what is possible if Joseph Parker becomes the IBF heavyweight champion. He's potentially got a shot at undisputed. How do you make sure that your fighter's mind doesn't wander while you've got to be plotting 2 or 3 steps ahead?
No, to be honest, we don't look too. Even myself, because there's always promises of this could happen and that could happen if you win, but really none of them will come true unless you actually win. You know what I mean? Unless you do the job at hand. He's got to focus on that when you win. And Joe knows how hard a fight this is.